Okay, I don't know why my iPad always zooms more than my iPhone, but sorry if you're watching this back and you see me moving my stuff around. I don't know if orientation is locked. Sweet, thanks. YouTube. Okay, I'm about to start my stream over here on my iPhone. I'm just gonna set you up here, so good, that works. All right, if you're joining on YouTube, let me know. It's hard to shift my eyes back and forth, so sorry if I'm staring at my phone here. Okay, I'm starting my stream here on Instagram. As always, let me know if you're watching. I've got some great ideas for exercises. What's up, everyone? It's joining. If, as you can see from my pinned comment here, and if you saw my story today, I know I just made it a few minutes ago, but we're going to be doing a technique class. And, what's up, Matthias? I'm going to be doing a live stream technique class here, which I do weekly typically, but I'm opening up to everyone this week and for the near future at least. Let me know if you're here and you're watching and you want to go over some technique stuff. Hit me with that guitar emoji. All right, I see a couple of you guys are doing that. I've got some cool left-hand exercises to show you. That's what we're going to start with. Cool. Yeah. Leave the emojis or just leave a message if you're watching. I see some of you are joining here on YouTube. I'm also streaming there. If you'd rather watch it on a bigger screen and on YouTube, then you can just go to my story and click to the end of it, and I have a link to where you can swipe up to watch on YouTube. There's a few of you joining now. Sorry, I'm just going to give it a couple more minutes before I start so that everyone that wants to join can, and those that came here for music instead of technical stuff can not get annoyed and just go ahead and leave. Get out. I'm playing. What's up? Yeah, swipe left on my story if you're not interested. Cool. So if you're ready to go, leave an emoji and I will go ahead and start. Or anything else. I just made it easy with an emoji. Okay. I'm going to start with a really fun exercise that helped me a lot, I think. And it was taught to me by Pavel Steidl, which is an awesome Czech guitarist. He was teaching in a master class, and almost everyone, when they first tried this, as simple as it seems, everyone struggled with it when they were trying it. So it's a really fun one. It's a nice thing to do when you first pick up the guitar in the morning or whenever you're playing, and it gets your left hand feeling independent. It actually helps with right hand balance as well. So what's up, those just joining? This is a technique class. I'm live streaming this every week now, maybe twice a week, depending on the feedback I get from the story I just posted. But if you're just joining, let me know that you're here. And I've also got this live stream on YouTube, which you can bring up through the story. Okay, now that that's over with again. So this is a left-hand exercise, but it actually works your right hand in a really cool way. But I'm going to start by just showing you how to do this. So obviously you can't see fret markers on my guitar, but line your hand up in fourth position. So first finger on the fourth fret, D string, second finger on what would be the third string, fifth fret, third finger on the sixth fret, fourth finger on the seventh fret. So it's like this. That's the chord you would be making, but we're actually not going to be pressing those all down at the same time. So you're just touching your fingers to the string so that it's muted when you play. So you're just barely touching the string. Once again, in fourth position here. So starting on the fourth, this is fifth, third, and then first string. Okay, so what you're going to do in the right hand is pluck all of the notes at the same time, like this. Okay? So nothing, you're not touching in the left hand at all. You're not pressing down the left hand at all. You're just touching the strings. So it's going to sound like this. I'm going to assume that you have that now. That's the top four strings, the fourth, third, second, and first. I'm making sure to go slow through this first process so that you definitely get it and it's not too confusing. Also, those of you joining on YouTube, sorry if I'm looking this way. I've got it streaming on 2 devices, but leave a comment if you've joined. Haven't even checked if you guys have left comments, but yeah, leave me a comment if you're here. We're going over an exercise that was taught to me by Pavel Steidl. Okay, so we've got these fingers set in place. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to pluck continuously. We're going to start at a very slow speed here. So we're plucking the 4th, 3rd, 2nd, and 1st strings. Now, this is where it gets a little difficult. We're going to press our first finger down while the others are still just muting the strings. Our first fingers are pressed down, and then we're going to do an open note. Okay, so again, down, up, down, open. So we're basically playing F sharp, D, while we're muting these other notes. Now, don't feel bad if you're having a hard time just doing that. It's not so easy. Yeah, right? You can see where it's going, Matthias. It's not super easy, and trust me, it gets much more complicated. But I'm trying to go slow so everyone gets it. And by the way, if you have a second to type here that, like, yeah, it's going well, I understand where you're going, or something like that in the comments, that'd be great. But I understand if you have your guitar in your hand too. Okay, so again, down, up. That's all that's happening here. So we're playing F sharp, D, and then we're going back to muting everything. Now, you're going to just press down your second finger, so your middle finger. So it's going to be C, G, right? C, G, like this. And then so on, right? So you have your 3rd finger and 4th finger doing this. Okay, so we're going to get through all of those in even more combinations, but if you're getting this, leave a comment, leave some random emoji, I don't really care. Just leave something letting me know that you're getting it and that you're following along, because otherwise I'm talking to myself. Not that this doesn't help me either, it really does. So this gets more complicated, and actually I expanded in a way that he didn't go to. I think it's because when he was showing people, it was like too complicated, and he like doing this on the first try, especially the speed that he can do it, was like overwhelming for everyone to try to get. So it's kind of hard for me to remember this being difficult, because it's like once you get it, it's not so hard anymore. But there's more steps to this that you can make pretty difficult. Okay, so we're going to do this 4 times on each string. We're going to do down, open, right? Down, open. Again. That's F sharp, D, and then C open. So we're doing 4 times on each, right? This is our 2nd finger pressing down only. Okay, now our 3rd finger. Oh, I messed up there. Yeah, John, yeah, it's an awesome independence exercise. So this is just our 4th finger. What's up, guys? Just joining on YouTube. Let me know if you're watching along and if you're enjoying this. If you're getting the exercise, I'd love to hear from you. Okay, so why are we doing this? This isn't just some sort of weird trick, some guitar magic trick. It's because a lot of times when we're playing, especially if we're playing like a large chord or our hand is in a funny position, we're doing bar chords, our hands are pressing unnecessarily where they don't need to be. So maybe if we've got a difficult chord and only 2 notes need to be ringing, and the second 2 don't have anything to do, what happens is sometimes we're pressing these 2 down really hard and then the other one's also down for no reason. And also it helps you control, like actually releasing when you need to release the tension on that actual fret. So when you're doing these, you might find yourself accidentally pressing 2 at a time down, which we're getting to how we're going to approach that intentionally as well. But we're doing, right now we're just doing 1 at a time. Oh, sorry, this is going to happen occasionally where it completely goes dark in this room because the studio that I'm in right now has a timer to save energy, which is great, but it can't tell when I'm moving. So I have to stand up and let it know I'm still here. Okay, so let's go back to doing this again. 1, open. So we're doing F sharp D while plucking all these strings muted. Sorry, 4 times on each. Third finger only. Okay, so now we're going to try doing 2 per string. So it's going to be like this in fast motion. It's going to be. But we're going to do it slower. So it's going to be like this. 1, 2, ready, and. So this is your I finger now. Your M finger and your third finger together, and your A finger and your pinky, third finger and your M, I finger and your second, C to G, it's hard to say everything, F sharp open with your thumb. Okay, now the next step to this would be going 1 each time. Okay, so let's try that. Slower speed, we're going to go this speed. Okay, so 1, 2, ready, and. Oh, sorry those watching on YouTube, I just realized my right hand is cut off. Okay, there we go. Ready, and. Keep on going. Okay, so hopefully you're getting that. If you are, let me know. Let me know that you're able to see this. If you have any suggestions for things that you would like me to go over, please leave it in the comments, either on YouTube or on Instagram. Okay. But we are going to continue with this exercise. Hopefully some of you are able to watch this, and I know it'll be better next time because you guys will know I'm actually doing a class here on Instagram. Normally this is just for people signed up on Patreon, so it's going to be very few people that are actually here ready to play guitar. I understand people have things going on during their day. Now we are going to do, low battery on my iPad, great. Now what we're going to try to do, and it's just to get you used to this, we're going to try to do 2 at a time. So I'm going to do first and second finger together, and then third and fourth still muting. So it's like this. Okay, so try that. I'll just keep on doing this. I'll do it slower. Now I'm going to do 2 and 3. Yeah, of course I know Steve. Cool. You're at Arizona. Let's keep on doing 2 and 3. So your fourth finger nor your first should be pressing down. So you shouldn't sound like this yet. Just second and third. So your goal is to get it faster, right? Like this. But now we're going to do 3 and 4. Probably the hardest one to do. Since our fourth finger tends to be our weakest finger, we try to compensate by using weight from other fingers, and that's not what we're trying to do. Yeah, hey, it gets harder than this too, which is crazy, but it's a nice exercise. Usually when I'm done with this, I feel like a lot more relaxed at the guitar and like I'm just in control of my fingers. then you switch between them. So let's go this speed. We're going to do 2, then we're going to do 2 and 3, then we're going to do 3 and 4. 2 and 3, 1 and 2. What's up, Gomlo? Good to see you. Do you got your guitar out? Hey, if you're following along with this, leave a comment if you haven't already, or even if you even if you are watching and you did leave a comment, I'd love to hear that you're able to that you're watching and that this is helping in some way. Okay, so we're going to do twice. Okay, so let's start. Ready, and 1 and 2 together. 2 and 3 together. 2 and 3. Okay, once faster for those that are getting it. Sure, Marcus. So Marcus asked, for those that are watching on YouTube, Marcus on Instagram asked, do you mind explaining this exercise one more time? Sorry, I joined late. And yes, totally I'll explain it because lots of people probably joined late and are totally lost because it's a little confusing, especially audibly. It's not something that you just figure out by ear because we're muting strings. We've got our left hand lined up on the first 4 strings. So 4th finger's on the 7th fret, the 3rd finger's on the 6th, 2nd finger's on the 5th, and then your 1st finger is on the 4th fret. And so this lines up like this, right? But we're not actually depressing the frets now. Yo, what's up, Liam? Tone bass? What's up, guys? Okay, we're actually just going to stay muted here, okay? This is an exercise taught to me by Pavel Steidl for left hand independence. And actually, it helps with right hand independence as well. I'll explain that in a little bit because I haven't yet. But we're just going to be playing dead notes in our left hand. Dead notes meaning we're not going to be depressing the strings to make what the chord actually would be. But that's a good way of testing if you're on the right fret. If it sounds like that, your hands are lined up in the right place. Okay, so what we're doing is plucking repeatedly all 4 strings at the same time. And then we're pressing down on with just our 1st finger, playing 1 note F sharp here, just pressing down, and then playing open, okay? But don't lift your fingers up like this. That's not the right way to do it. But yeah, so it's like... So then we're moving to the 2nd finger while keeping the other fingers muted. That's what it is in fast motion, but we're doing this slowly, right? And don't worry if it takes you some time, that's totally normal. It's a difficult exercise. Just give me 1 second here while I plug in some power to the other device I'm streaming from for YouTube. YouTube people, sorry, 1 second. Oh boy. We've got a cable trip line. All right, I'm gonna move this back into place. Sorry, we got 2 music stands here. Okay, I think we're set again. All right, so are you understanding? Those of you that joined a little bit late, we're muting all 4 strings and just pressing down when we choose the finger that we choose. And we're pressing down 1 and then open string. So I'm on the 1st string, B string. Okay, cool, you got it, Marcus. All right, so we're going to jump really far ahead here. I'm just going to quickly explain this because I know this is difficult if you're just learning the exercise. But the final step in this, after doing the combined fingers, so after we do 1 and 2 together, 2 and 3 together, 3 and 4 together, 2 and 3, 1 and 2, then we do 1 and 3. This is when it becomes very difficult. This will take some time for sure. Then 2 and 4, see? This isn't the easiest for me either here. Even though I've done these plenty of times, I have not done this set in a while. we go. Okay. So, yeah, those are not easy. Of course, you can also do 1, 4. But this will really train your left hand to execute things with minimal effort and with total control of your other fingers. Now, of course, that's like a huge claim to fame. That's not necessarily going to happen. But it certainly will help get your mind going in the right direction when you approach the piece that you're playing. Okay, so what I wanted to talk about here, which is something that I didn't discover until doing this exercise for a while, is that it actually really helps your right hand balance as well. Now let me explain. Yes, we're just playing one note at a time and sometimes two, but what happens when you're striking all the strings at the same level, like if, for instance, if it was like this, and all the strings were the same volume, what happens is when you get to, say, the second finger, instead of this being loud, it might sound like this. It might just sound quiet and blended in with these other strings like this. But since we know what to listen for, it's only one note we're going for, right? What ends up happening is we end up pressing harder with whatever finger in the right hand it is that's matching up with the one in the left. And that's exactly what you do when you're working on balance. For instance, if you had this chord and you were working on bringing out this note, your I finger, you would work on pressing much more with your I finger, right? May not be audible through Instagram, but you'll definitely notice this when you're getting down that to coordination and balance. You can actually make these notes quite loud while this stays this volume, right? Now, balance is something that we don't work on quite enough as guitarists typically, and it's extremely important. It's something that pianists work on an insane amount because, you know, maybe quite often they have lots of their fingers laying down on the piano and lots of unimportant notes. Unfortunately, we can only have a maximum of 6 notes going on the guitar at a time, but they can have 10. So, or actually even more, you know, if they press 2 keys at once with one finger. So, what they constantly have to work on this balance issue, and it's what distinguishes a lot of great pianists from mediocre and amateur, whatever those different levels are. But on guitar, balance only comes at a higher level of guitar because it's very difficult to control. For instance, when people are playing that tune that everyone learns in the beginning, Romance, Spanish Romance, typically people start playing it like this. They start playing. Right, with every note the same volume, but it takes a while to be able to do this. So that type of skill is what we're working on here. And of course, this was an easy example because the note is on the outermost voice and we don't have to press hard on any of the inner fingers. And that's precisely what we're working on in this exercise. So, sorry. Keep on forgetting, I should wave every now and then turn this back on, but the lights go out here because there's a motion sensor in the room. I'm in an office here at the university. Okay, now, so let's go through this one more time. Let's do first finger, second, but we're going to do 4 times each finger in at this speed. Okay, so 1, 2, ready, and again. This is our 4th time. Now we're going to the second finger. So 2, open, 2, open. 3, open. 3, open. I've sped up a little bit here. And yeah, Marcus, yeah, especially fugues. Okay, so that's that exercise. I encourage you to do that. You'll get better really fast with this type of thing. And then of course you do this with 1 and 2, 2 and 3, and 3 and 4. Then you go 1 and 3 open, 2 and 4 open. Also 1 to 3. Okay, Marcus asks, and by the way, I welcome your questions. Anything you guys want to ask about technique or would like to see me go over, specific exercise, whatever, let me know. Or type of exercise. Marcus asks, would you do this daily, like the whole exercise, or split it up throughout the week? Good question, because it seems like it's taking forever, and it's been about 26 minutes already. But definitely you can do this in one day. You can do this in 5 minutes or so, maybe 10 if you really want to push it. It's not a long exercise. You start by going. And you do 1 and 2. This is what I do at least. Of course, in the beginning you'll be a little bit slower and it'll be harder to get through it all. Then 1 and 3, 2 and 4, 1 and 3. 2 and 4, 1 and 4, 1 and 4, 2 and 3, 1 and 4. That's really hard to get going fast. So 1 and 3, 2 and 4, 1 and 3, 2 and 4. It's possible. Anyways, I just did that whole thing in like maybe 2 minutes, right? So yes, you definitely work the whole thing every day. In the beginning, it's going to take a lot more time because you're just getting used to the exercise. But it can always be brought to a higher level, being like whether it's faster or more relaxed or louder notes. It's a really good way to practice pushing into the string and making sure that volume really comes out. Okay, that's enough of that exercise. I hope you guys enjoy it. We're going to move on to another one that's a little bit more simple. Probably should have started out with this because I would have lost less people during this process. But now we're going to do just like something, it's not anything special about every technique book has it. We're going to do a slur exercise, and that is going from the first fret to the second. Okay? That's what we're going to do. We're going to go like this in fast motion, plucking once a string, and then we're going to slide up a fret. Okay, so we're going to slide up, and we're going to do this all the way to the 7th fret. Once we get up here, we're going to head back down to the 6th. Angel on YouTube, that was a cool exercise. Thanks. You're so welcome. I'm glad you enjoyed it. By the way, those of you watching on YouTube, if you drop a comment, I would love to hear from you. I do see your comments as well. Same with you on Instagram. If you're enjoying this, please let me know. I'd love to hear from you. Okay, so we're going to go at this speed. Typically, everyone always seems to ask when on the bass strings, I use my thumb for all 3, and then I, M, and A on the top 3. Okay? So, let's go ahead and do that. We're going to do this 1 to 2. D string, G, B, E. Awesome. Glad you're enjoying this, Marcus. So now we're going from the 2nd to the 3rd fret. Now we're going to go to the 3rd to the 4th. I'm going to try not to speed up here. So some of you can pay attention. If this is an easy speed for you, which for many of you it will be, there's a couple of things you can pay attention to. One is that the volume that you're plucking, no matter how strong your hammer-on is, your volume, if you're plucking too loud in the right hand, it's going to be hard to mimic the volume in the slur. For instance, if I go, it's going to be almost impossible to match that same volume in the slur. So make sure you're plucking an appropriate volume so that both notes are very close to the same volume. We're going back here now, 6 to 7. Another thing you can pay attention to are your 3rd and 4th fingers. This is something you certainly want to do. Your 3rd and 4th fingers should not be way up in the air like this, or away from the fingerboard. This is something we see quite often. Oops, hold on. I got a pop-up on my, about a new iOS version of my iPad. Okay, again, 5th to 6th fret. You want to keep your 3rd and 4th finger in a place where they could do something if you needed them. So like if you needed them to go, that's the idea when we're practicing this, is that our 3rd and 4th finger are in a place where they could be used when we need to, whatever it is, you know? Hi, Evan. Did you ever play AMI scales, and what do you think about it? Greetings from Argentina. What's up, Tomas? Yes, we'll get to that. Good question. Okay, so we're going to start again here on the 1st fret and do this a little bit faster. We're going to start. Okay, so pay attention to your 2nd and 3rd, or 3rd and 4th fingers here in your left hand. It's okay if your hands get a little bit sore from this. If it's painful, stop, but it's normal to be a little bit sore. Slurs are a difficult thing to do. Let's go ahead and start. 1, 2, ready, and. And if it's too fast or you get tired in the middle of it, don't worry about it. Just take a break and join back in wherever you can. Right now we're on the 3rd fret going to the 4th. 4th going to the 5th. Hammering on 1 to 2, plucking once per string. Something I'm typically going to do is get a little bit faster throughout the exercise, and you may think, why are you not like a metronome? Well, this makes it so that everyone gets pushed at some point here, right? Except those of you beating me, right? Now, you don't want to go to a speed where you feel like your rhythm is inconsistent. For instance, you don't want it to sound like this. I'm trying to be really sloppy, but you see how it's like, that's sounding like da 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 da. You want it to stay really consistent, because this is something that happens when, in pieces, when we add slurs. Say you're playing like this Bach Allegro. You're playing. If your slurs are weak and you do something like, maybe you'll do something like, or, oh, that sounds like I'm doing musical rubato, which I'm not intending to show here. But if your slurs are weak, or your hands are not very controlled, your left hand's not very controlled in the slurs, you're going to have really inconsistent rhythms. So when we're doing this exercise, we're trying to pay special attention. It's sounding da 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 da, like you were pressing keys on a piano and just going up in a scale. That's how it should sound. Okay, now we're going to move to our 2nd and 3rd fingers, starting on the 2nd fret and hammering onto the 3rd. Same sort of thing. Watch your pinky and your 1st finger. Make sure they're not hanging out here doing the rock symbol. Make sure they're not tucked away or doing anything weird. If your pinky's out like this, that's also a problem, because if you're doing this and you need it to go like that, look at that distance it needs to travel. I mean, I can't even be accurate doing that. It's difficult. So now let's do 2nd to 3rd finger, and we're going to move all the way to the 8th fret, 8th position for this one. Okay, so 1, 2, ready, and. What's up, Brandon? We're going the 4th fret, going to the 5th with our 2nd and 3rd fingers. Sorry, those on YouTube not able to see my 2nd and 3rd fingers, or sorry, my right hand here. But really anything works. I mean, you can do this all line, and if you want, you can do this all line. Okay, so we're on this 8th fret going to the 9th. Now we're going to go back down, so 7 to 8. What's up, guys? Those of you just joining, let me know if you're here, you're watching along, following me. We've got this weekly technique class going on, and if you guys enjoy this, please support me on Patreon. The link is in my bio, but only if you can afford to. Sorry I didn't push the speed on this one, but I would have. Okay, Now we're going to do 3rd to 4th finger. So 3rd fret to 4th fret. And we're going to move all the way to 9th to 10th fret. 1, 2, ready, and. This is going to be the hardest one for most people. And that's because we have a difficult time exchanging our weight from our 3rd finger, so our ring finger, to our pinky. If I'm talking too much, tell me to shut up. But that's where the majority of the problem lies. What ends up happening is when you're doing this exercise, it looks like this. And you're pressing all your weight on the 3rd finger and letting your 4th finger just kind of like flop away at the string. Where your 4th finger should be just as empowered as your 3rd, with carrying just as much weight. Okay, now we're going from the 7th, from the 8th to the 9th fret. Now we're going to the 7th to the 8th. See, every time my 4th finger comes down, my 3rd finger releases its tension. That's how you get an even sound with less tension in those fingers. Let's push this tempo just a little bit. Okay. Now let's do 1st finger to 3rd finger. Okay, so 1 to 3 on the 1st fret. We're going to go to the 7th position and back down. 1, 2, ready, and. If your hand hurts, take a break. If it's just sore, that's normal. You're building muscle. Like I said, listen carefully. You don't want it to sound like this. It should be very even. Like you're touching keys on the keyboard. Back down. I'm going to speed up a little bit with this one. If you can't do it, just continue going at whatever speed you can do. Okay, now let's do 2nd to 4th finger. Let's give ourselves a quick little break. Leave a comment if you want. If there's something that you suggest I go over next, leave it, because after this, it's open to questions. At about the 40-minute mark, I do that. Okay, Thomas asked, do I ever play... Oh, I already answered that question, but I said I'd get back to it. Yes, AMI scales are great. Maybe if there's time at the end here, let me know if you're still watching, Tomas. Maybe I'll go over it if you're still here. Sorry. I need to figure out a way to make this work better, but the lights click off here. Okay, they click off of the motion sensor. Okay, so yes, I've got a great exercise for AMI, and if you're still here, let me know. Someone else asked something, let me scroll back. You don't need to answer this now, but do you have any rep that you use as a warm-up? I like using sight reading as a warm-up. I really, really like doing that, like sight reading through Sor Steady or Kakasi Steady that I never learned, or Karuli, something like that. Because sight reading is something that often we don't find the time for, and it's so important in learning new repertoire and playing with others and groups. And it's also good because when you're sight reading, you're not going back to like old habits on maybe a specific piece. Maybe you're drilling away at Kakasi 7. And you're so used to messing up the tremolo part and you think about it too much. It's those types of things. Like I try not to bring back those old habits. When you learn a new piece, maybe you can apply exactly what you've been working on. That's one of my favorite warm-ups though. Okay. Now we're going to do 2 to 4, second finger to fourth finger. This, where it's extremely important to feel this weight transfer. This is a really good view that you have on YouTube here, but you see this motion, like exaggerated. Now don't do this, but this would be an exaggeration. But you see how so clearly there's no weight left over here, and here there's no weight left there. That's the kind of motion we're going for, except not while twisting the wrist like this. You're just applying weight over here, you're moving from here. It's like barely tottering back and forth on something, right? It's like if you were to put a rock on the ground, a really, really low rock, okay? Imagine this. A pebble's on the ground. It's about this big, okay? And you get a flat board, and you put the board, the pebble right in the center of the board and the board on top of that. And then you were to just like touch the ground over here with the right side of the board, and then on the left side of the board, touch the ground and back and forth like this. That's the type of feeling that you should get between your hands. A movement like that. Okay, so let's go ahead and try that. 2 to 4. 1, 2, ready, and. We're going to start really slow just so you can get what I was just talking about there, but we're going to get faster. We're going from the 3rd to the 5th fret right now with our 2nd and 4th finger, middle and pinky. Make sure you're really getting volume out of that hammer on. You want to hear that 2nd note. It shouldn't be like this. It shouldn't be like that, right? It should be like this. We're going to go up 1 more fret, and then we're going to head back down the fingerboard, okay? So this is 8th to 10th. Feel that weight transfer. I'm getting a little faster on purpose. We're going 7th to 9th. Keep that rhythm consistent. Don't make it like this. I'm purposely getting faster. If you can keep up with it, that's great. If not, no worries. I'm not going to go to a speed that's completely unreasonable. Okay, I'm going to do one more combination here, and then we'll move on to some questions. So if you have a question that you want answered first or close to first, go ahead and leave a comment, and I will do my best to answer it. Okay, so here we go. We're going to do 1 to 4. 1, I'm going to make sure this thing doesn't turn off. Okay, 1, 2, ready, and. What's up, Milo? Whatever your name is, sorry. Getting faster on purpose here. Hi, Katie. Going now 6th to 9th fret. The tough thing to build up with this is making sure your contact point is always the same with your pinky. Sometimes you can hit with more flesh or right on the tip, and that's a tough thing to get right. So I totally understand if your hands are feeling sore. All right, Tomas, are you still over here on YouTube? I can answer your question was first here about the AMI scales. Leave a comment if you're still there, and I'll get back to you. Someone asked, what do I recommend to practice tremolo? Josh asked this, which he's still here, so I will totally answer that. I really like to practice tremolo with like Recuerdos de la Alhambra, but for someone, if you're just learning tremolo, there's a really great book called The Art of Tremolo. I really recommend it. I'm trying to think of what else is really good. Isnaiola's bit about tremolo in his book, Kitharologus, is great. But there's one really nice one that if you just do slow, another one's Carcassi 7, this one that I was talking about. What's nice about it is it has arpeggios and tremolo. Whatever it is. What's nice about it is you have tremolo and arpeggios, and getting good at one is pretty related to the other. If you're great at tremolo, you're going to be really good at arpeggios. And if you're really good at arpeggios, you'll likely be better at tremolo than you would be if you weren't. Anyways, There's one exercise I really like to do, and it's from that book, Art of Tremolo, I believe. Who knows where he got it from, but it's this thing called tremolo arpeggios. And what you do is you start on the outermost strings, the 6 and the 1st. You pick any chord, it really doesn't matter what it is. You start on the outermost strings and you play tremolo, right? And then you do the next inner strings, so like A and B, and then D and G. Then you go back to the outer ones. So you go like this, right? This helps with your string crossing when tremolo, which is a really weak spot for a lot of people. For everyone, that's the difficult spot. Another thing you can do here, if that's too hard going, you can do it twice on each string. And you can also do one finger at a time. So what I mean is like 6 and 1, the first string and the last string, and then just move up your thumb, and then next just move up your AMI, then just move your thumb, then your AMI, thumb, AMI, thumb, AMI. Move your AMI, move your thumb, move your AMI, move your thumb, move your AMI, whatever order, and however many repeats, is comfortable for you. But yeah, that really helps with string crossing. I recommend it. Any other questions? If not, I will end this stream, but I'm sure there's something else out there. I'll give you guys about a minute. Any other technique-related questions? But thank you for joining this class. If you enjoyed this, consider supporting me on Patreon. I'm going to be doing another class. There's all sorts of perks you get if you sign up on Patreon, and you'll have access to more things like my technique stories. Anyone that's on Patreon, you get to watch those at any time, not just after 24 hours when they disappear. So if you weren't able to actually go through it or work on it yourself with all the instructions that I gave, you can go back and watch it. I upload it to YouTube unlisted for just my patrons. Okay, I'll give you guys just a little bit longer, but thank you for tuning in, and I hope to see you guys again soon. Thanks for y'all watching on YouTube. Sorry, my eyes were mostly directed towards my phone over there. But I appreciate you guys. If you haven't subscribed to me on YouTube, go to my story and you can swipe up and find my YouTube channel in that. It's also in my bio. But okay, guys, I hope you enjoyed. I'll catch you soon. See you later. Ending the stream on Instagram and ending the stream on YouTube. See you guys later.